I've heard many people make cases for the downfall of American culture. They claim as a society we are hurtling towards hedonism, debauchery, moral decay, and other buzzwords that make senior citizens perk up while they're watching Fox News before they buy a Dick Cheney commemorative playing card. But I propose American culture is not on a downward swing. We have been on an upward swing since 2007. Why, you ask? Because it would be impossible to get more strange and sinister than we were in 2007. Because in 2007, Bret Michaels' The Rock of Love was released.
Outside this Bel Air bachelor pad, 25 babes have gathered because they have two things in common. Their love for rock and roll, and for one man who's made it his life. Hollywood.
Rock and roll is an insatiable bitch goddess, but I love her, and I'm just looking for that one woman in my life to participate in that threesome. I found this beautiful young girl to have lovely, hot breasts.
That's right, I used the word released intentionally. Released like a nerve gas or a swarm of bees on a beautiful picnic. But I watched the first episode of the first season of Rock of Love. Both of my eyes peeled back Clockwork Orange style. But between all the fighting and the kissing and the comments Bret Michaels makes about how sexually excited he is.
And I know, deep in my heart, deep in my soul, and deep in my loins, that one of these 25 women is going to be the one for me. Love a girl in a cowboy hat. It is just purely sexy. There was part of her that said, just make love to me right now. You could tell right off the bat the girl was smart, she had a lot of wit, was kind of a turn on. And I'm telling you, I'm ready to explode.
I realized this show is of desperate need of re-examination, which is why I'm covering it on this episode of Worth a Watch. Now you might notice I'm not in my normal studio. I'm currently on the road doing stand-up comedy in Greenville, South Carolina. Please see me live at these other stand-up comedy dates. I would love to have money for food. Ticket link is in description. Which is ironic because Bret Michaels knows a lot about being on the road. Bret Michaels was the frontman for the band Poison. Poison was a band who gained prominence in the 80s and early 90s and dressed like this. Remember when Harry Styles wore a dress and people freaked out about it? Well, this is a case that nothing new has ever happened in society. If there are two absolute truths to society, it's that money will accumulate towards the top until there is an uprising of the working class, and women will flock to have sex with men who dress like Marie Antoinette. Anyway, Bret Michaels is tired of being on the road because his experience on the road is much different than mine.
And we have traveled the entire world, and I've got to hook up with some of the most beautiful women in the world.
When Bret Michaels is on the road, he experiences non-stop attention from women and a lavish lifestyle. Whereas I check into a motel, find the closest Starbucks, and ask them for pup cups before they realize I'm the one who's eating them and they ask me to leave. I wanted to see what Bret Michaels is up to right now, and I gotta say, my man has not changed in the slightest. He recently posted a picture with the caption, "This picture means a lot to me." This is exactly what the 2024 Bret Michaels Party Gras Tour feels like. In a year where things may get polarized and divided, I am even more determined that music is a universal language that keeps us united. This is the picture that caption was written for. I am not joking. This picture means a lot to Bret Michaels. How does that picture mean a lot to you? When I see a hat sitting on a hollowed out piece of wood, I think, damn, that's just like me. Anyway, the season starts with Bret Michaels riding a motorcycle and lamenting about his love life.
This girl's got to be hot. She's got to be cool, she's got to be sexy, she's got to deal with the insanity, but she's got to know rock and roll is my one big love.
Pretty wild for a 44-year-old at the time, but at least he's a single bachelor with no kids.
Right now I have my two beautiful daughters who live with me, Rain and Georgia.
Well, oh no. Just imagine what it's like being those daughters. No, honey, don't worry, you stay here. Daddy's gonna find you a mommy. Am I gonna go on a date? No, I'm gonna give 25 women chlamydia. Anyway, you stay here in this crib that I fashioned out of guitars and women's bras that they threw at me. I'm taking the hog out on Sunset. Bret Michaels says rock and roll is the reason for and destruction of all of his relationships.
Rock and roll is the reason for and destruction of all of my relationships.
And you might have caught a little grammatical issue with that, and I just want you to know, if that's a problem for you, you cannot watch this show. Baby, that wasn't me who cheated on you, that's rock and roll. Have you asked rock and roll to pay the child support? I'm sorry, I'm being rude to Bret Michaels. After all, when he was 15, he was given the secret to love.
When I was 15 years old, I was handed the secret to love. There's plenty of women out there that you want to be friends with, and there's a lot of women out there you want to have sex with. But if you can find one that you can be friends with and have sex with, henceforth, rock of love.
That is as deep as it gets on this show. Love is like when you're friends with a girl, but then you also bang her. Brett, have you ever heard of friends with benefits? No, I haven't digested any form of media in 20 years. Okay, this is gonna be tough. But I am positive MTV has selected the world's most emotionally intelligent women to deal with the chaos that is Bret Michaels.
I was named Miss Hooters of Illinois, and I have the tools to get what I want because of that.
I want to Bret Michaels, and I'm not afraid of it. I'm gonna get me some rocker ass.
I am so in love with Bret Michaels. I used to kiss the album and spoon it all the time.
He has a bodyguard, Big John, who he's in a kind of vague psychosexual relationship with, but we're gonna get into that later. Some of you might laugh at the assertion that these women think Bret Michaels is so hot. And to you I say, I don't think you've ever been to the Midwest. There's a certain kind of woman in her 40s, 50s, and 60s who lives right in the middle of the country. And when they see long hair, sunglasses, a bandana, and a motorcycle, their body just starts saying, hey, it's time to produce one more egg. And here we're catching those women in 2007 when they're in their 20s and 30s. Big John immediately cuts 5 women, and the implication is Big John decides who does and does not initially meet and later have sex with Bret Michaels.
So I introduced these beautiful women to Big John, and I let Big John do what Big John does. Technically, I don't know what that is because I'm never around when he's doing it, but I always know that my party is awesome after.
Big John is an awesome kind of guy. I like to call these guys football never stopped type dudes. There's a type of dude who played football in high school, maybe college, and then stopped playing football, but they never really stopped playing football. John may have not played football for the last 15 years, but that neck of his does not know that. John gives the women the ground rules.
1, no one enters Bret's room unannounced. 2, please don't touch the guitars. And 3, please don't puke in the jacuzzi, because I'm the one that's got to clean it.
How low budget is this show? You can only imagine how much these women didn't get paid. And now we get to get into something important. You see, all of that was essentially set up to my overall thesis of this reality show. I think The Rock of Love is one of the very few honest reality shows in the world. A lot of reality shows claim their mission is love, friendship, staying on an island for a really long time. But in reality, a lot of those serve as a smokescreen to cover up what that show is really about. Depravity and greed, 2 of the most fundamental American characteristics. And you know who has both of those traits? Tiffany.
Ridiculous. I can't freaking believe this. I came here to get my man, and I intend to. I ain't going home. If it was up to Bret, he wouldn't have dismissed me.
No, Bret, if it was up to Bret, the entire city of LA would be here.
Please.
Tiffany will go on to make a drunken mess out of herself, yell slurs at other women, and get rewarded for it. Do you want to know why? Because this reality show is honest. You want a reality show that makes you feel good or like a smart person? Go watch Love is Blind. So anyway, the rest of the women get in the house scot-free, and Bret Michaels reveals to us that his passion is photography.
I love shooting photos. I love photography. It's one of my favorite hobbies. So in order to set up their VIP all access pass, I would like to shoot them because it helps me to look at their faces and their personalities through the lens.
I have to say, there is something really beautiful about a man who has every trait that a creepy sex hound has. If he had just a bandana, I would be like, man, this stinks. Look at these women getting misled. But Bret Michaels literally has every single characteristic that should raise a red flag. And in that way, I have a little respect. Is Bret Michaels a great guy? Maybe not, but he is honest. If you look at that man and he tells you he loves photography and you go, oh wow, that's a man who's going to look after our children, that is on you. Some of the women are really good at posing for the pictures, but I gotta say, I really fell in love with the ones who aren't.
Just give me your sexiest, coolest. Forget anyone's in this house, room, any place, all right? Okay, ready?
With the music and the framing of this, they're clearly trying to paint this picture as, oh, this woman doesn't know how to have a good time. But in reality, it looks like she's just going, What the hell is going on here? Am I getting trafficked by Bret Michaels? It really seems like these women are about to get trafficked by Bret Michaels. They're about to end up in the van of love. Then Bret meets the women one-on-one. Luckily, we get some backstory into Bret Michaels' dating history.
But I haven't been on a lot of dates. I've either had crazy, wild rock and roll bus sex, or I've been in long, committed relationships.
Bus sex or committed relationships. Personally, I have only had committed bus relationships. That's where you have a conversation on a Greyhound bus for 4 whole hours with a woman without either of you nodding off. Also, there's this really funny moment where they try to get somber and serious. Bret sits down with Rodeo and the conversation starts with them talking about working out, but ends with them talking about overcoming disease.
I was a platform diver and I broke my feet, so it paralyzed me for about 2 years, so I had to struggle to learn how to walk again, and then I had cancer, and then I fought through that. I'm a strong lady.
You are a strong lady. And you know what comes from all that? And this is, I've been juvenile diabetic, right? I take 4 shots a day since I've been 6 years old, right?
Wow.
Yep. And you know what's great about it is it makes me a stronger person.
It doesn't make you take life for granted.
And it don't make me take life for granted, and don't make me take the people around me for granted.
You might think this is a deep conversation, but you have to think of this in context. Bret has probably drank a handle of vodka and taken 8 Quaaludes. This is not a deep moment. This is something all of us have experienced. Being wasted at a party, having a conversation that is way too deep for a party. Who among us have not woken up after a party and gone, man, I gave way too much information to that guy who deals ketamine? Now every year I get a Christmas card from a guy named Hans with face tattoos. Anyway, Bret continues to have conversations and he talks to a woman who says, you know, it's okay if you hook up with other women on the road.
She would allow me to have herself and 3 other wives and or girlfriends as long as she was the lead girlfriend, which I thought was great.
It is so funny. We are like an hour into this show and Bret Michaels has already forgot the premise of the show. The premise is he finds a partner that he commits to. And then a woman is like, we could have an open relationship, and he's like, wait, that's awesome. Then he talks about the women who are not having a good time as if that's a crazy thing.
Then I noticed there was a second set of girls, not quite as outgoing.
I'm not saying these women should have stuck around on the show. I am saying they all deserve better than Bret Michaels. They have the common sense to go, you know what, I'd actually rather not box out 3 women and get spray tan all over my one dress so I can talk to an inebriated Bret Michaels. I'm gonna go back to Kansas City actually and start a real estate business. Whenever women think there are no more options for them, real estate is always there to pull them up. So Bret gives away his VIP passes, some of the women go home, and at the end he gives Tiffany a VIP pass, citing the fact that she is good for the show.
Tonight you drank too much, I've been there many a time, and I think you owe a lot of these girls an apology. Don't screw up again, okay?
Okay. Don't threaten me with a good time.
I gave Tiffany another chance for one very simple reason. I think somewhere in there was a good person, she was just wasted. I've been there, you've been there, we've all been there. Plus, she was entertaining.
I mean, I have to say, I did not really enjoy watching this, but I do think I had to. Most reality TV is like eating a hamburger. This show is like watching the cow get pulled apart by machinery. Bret Michaels cites that the reason Tiffany is staying on the show is because she is good for the show. They just don't find the need to sugarcoat that. And this show made me feel a lot better because whenever I get into an argument with someone who is saying society is going downhill, I will just remind them of this show and they will nod their head and walk away. I'm going to continue doing episodes of this show on my Patreon, I think, so if you want to keep watching these, join the Patreon. Otherwise, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm dropping more videos, I'm doing more of these kinds of videos, so thank you so much for your support. Drop a comment letting me know what you want to see next. And as always, have a good one.